Hi ladies, welcome back to my channel, The Mumma 6. I am Rebecca Barr. Thank you so much for joining me for this video, and it actually came about today because I had a request for it, which was super exciting as well. So basically I have some exciting news. I was featured yesterday inside the Metro newspaper, just sharing some of my journey with money and how I am helping my kids to be financially empowered as a mum of 6. So which was really exciting. And then obviously off of the back of that, I've had some new subscribers, which I'm really excited about, so welcome. And I had a request for another video, just kind of diving in a little bit deeper about some of the things that I spoke about how I'm helping the kids to be financially empowered and earn their own money and independent. So I wanted to expand on that a little bit today in this video, but I will try and keep it short because we all know I am a talker. So first of all, the article was just, I've been having a little cry this morning, if I'm honest, because it feels like a full circle moment. So back in 2009, I used to work in corporate. I had been given this dream job working as a contractor in London, working in HR, which I loved. But the only problem was, just as I was getting the job, I found out I was pregnant, and it was only a contract role. So if you know, you know, but essentially I didn't have any job security to come back to. And it also meant that, you know, at any point that job could be taken. I did manage to get a promotion and a permanent role, but only if I returned to my job only 6 weeks after having my first baby. Now, what you might not know is that actually I battled with fertility for the whole of my 20s, and it took me 7 years to get pregnant in the first place. So then having to go back to work full time in London while she was only 6 weeks old was just like truly heartbreaking. So to now see, and I used to literally go to work every day crying into that paper when I was pregnant because I knew that this was going to happen, but also after I'd had her, it was like absolute torture. And it was such a shame because I really loved my job. But to now have an article in the paper where I am not only able to work for myself, you know, not in that corporate environment anymore, but also be at home with her and homeschooling and just making up for all of that incredible lost time. Honestly, it just makes me emotional thinking about it, but then also to receive such lovely feedback from it as well has just been so nice, because money is such a divisive topic and it can bring up so much for so many people. So obviously you might not know, but in my full-time job now, I am, sorry ladies, have an itchy eye. I don't know what that means. I'm sure there's a spiritual word for that. But in my job now, working for myself, I've had other brick and mortar businesses that I grew. But now I just think, for me, and based on my experience, like me becoming a business owner was the making of me. The version of me who worked in corporate, that was a people pleaser, that was scared of everything, didn't want to be seen, didn't want to upset anybody, constantly trying to make everybody around me happy, was just such a watered down version of who I could be as a woman, as a mother. Becoming a business owner really pushed me outside of my comfort zone. It was like a baptism of fire. I did not know what I was doing. I wasn't one of those people that was like, oh, I was born to be an entrepreneur. I always had this inner knowing that I was meant for more. The reality was I was quite happy being in the matrix and earning a good wage, because at that point I thought I was living the dream, because I had such a crappy childhood that still felt like winning the lottery. So but then having to go through, you know, the trials and tribulations of being a business owner, having to upset people, having to like fight for my survival, because I basically bought a business that was absolutely dying. And to turn it around, you do have to be a bit of a boss and, you know, assert boundaries and start to get clear on what you want and not worry about upsetting people. Becoming that version of me over the last 10 years has truly been the making of me. And to have experienced that now be living on my own terms, financially independent, being with my kids, has just been the icing on the cake. So the more that I can help other women particularly, but anybody who's a good person, you know, so I'm not excluding men, the more that I can do that, like the more that brings me the most amount of joy. And I feel like that's me paying it forwards. Not only, you know, am I leaving the legacy of healed trauma for my kids and helping them to be financially savvy, the more that I can help others to do it as well just feels even better. So that was the article, and Hello, it was like a full page. So that was a real surprise. And what is a little funny story was that I didn't know that that story was coming out yesterday. So they just mentioned at some point, and then I didn't really hear anything, and I was like, oh, maybe that sometimes happens when you work with the press. It doesn't always go to actually the press. Sometimes I've had articles that I've written, pulled my heart and soul, and then it's been pulled at the last minute. So I kind of forgot about it, to be honest. But then what happened was I received a really lovely message on Facebook from a woman just saying, I read your story today in the Metro. It was really inspirational. Just wanted to say thank you. And I was like, oh my God, it's in the Metro. So then obviously I assumed it would be an online like article, and it wasn't. So then I was like, oh my God, it was 6 o'clock. I'd done the kids' dinner. I was practically in my pajamas, full of like sick in my hair. The babies all kind of winding down and getting ready for bed. And I was like, I've got to go and track this down, because if I can't get the physical copy, that's it. I can't see what was written, and I won't know if it was definitely in there or if this is like, I don't know. So I had to then go to the train station. I went to 3 different shops, newsagents and all the things. They didn't have any copies. I went to the train station, my local train station, looking like a crazy person with the baby and the bouncer, another one on a scooter, and they didn't have any copies there, but I managed to get a copy from somebody who worked there behind the desk. So they very kindly gave me their copy and I could see it. So just wanted to say thank you so much for everybody that's also then subscribed and said lovely comments. Like, it literally means the world, and you probably won't understand truly what that means to me and our family, even though it wasn't that big a deal, but it was just lovely. So getting to the point of this video, I want to share with you and expand on some of the things that I talked about how I am helping my kids, and especially my girls, to be financially empowered as they kind of, grow up. So the first thing is, I want to caveat, I didn't come from money. I actually had a very traumatic childhood when it came to money. So I've always had a very toxic relationship with it. It's like I needed it, but I hated it. I wanted it, but it didn't want me. Essentially, my dad passed when I was very young. So when I was 4, we were a naval family living in naval quarters. And obviously, as soon as he passed, we were no longer part of the Navy. So we were essentially evicted and made homeless. I think I was young, and my mum has since passed. So I can't always fact check 100% some of the facts in my stories, but I know this is kind of my recollection from conversations that we've had. So I think we went to live with my granddad. Again, my mum grew up without a mum, bless her, for a short time, and then eventually my mum got an inheritance, or not an inheritance, but basically, and again, this makes me emotional, but because my dad was in the Navy, from what I understand, the other sailors on the ship, knowing that he had a young family at home, he passed when he was 25, they crowdfunded like a little pot of money for me and my mum and my siblings, so that we would be okay and looked after. So my mum obviously had that money, and it sorted us out, it got us a home and all the things. But because of the way that money came to her, I don't think she ever felt good about receiving it, and she essentially self-sabotaged our whole life. Like, we were constantly up and down, moving house, having a car, selling a car, getting a pet, not getting a pet, having a house, moving. I had like 2 different schools, like infant schools, junior schools, high schools. I was constantly moving around. There was no security. And again, basically what happened is that we lost our home for the second time in my early teens, when our house got repossessed, because my mum couldn't make the payments on our mortgage, and we ended up in a hostel, and then I ended up moving in with various different, like, well-meaning family members, and I kind of bounced around a little bit of people trying to help, but not really necessarily ready for the commitment of another child in their home that isn't theirs. I ended up moving to kind of, the other side of the country, with family members, and kind of settled there until I was, in my late teens. But again, ended up moving on when I was 16. So for me, having experienced such a toxic relationship with money, the first thing I wanted to do as soon as I left school was start earning money. I worked 3 jobs, and eventually I bought my first house at 18 with a partner, because that was the only thing that I knew in life, is that I needed to live in a house that somebody couldn't take away from me, and finally get that stability for myself. Again, thought I was living the dream, but the reality was what I hadn't actually dealt with was those feelings of not being wanted, not feeling safe, not being worthy, always being a perpetual guest in somebody else's house where you couldn't fully express yourself because, you couldn't be too much, couldn't be too naughty, couldn't be, have a tantrum or any of those things. And I hadn't dealt with any of that. So when our relationship broke down in my mid-20s, I ended up walking away from 90% of the property portfolio that we had built between us, even though I was the driving force of that. So I'd got to like pretty much around a 7-figure property portfolio through buy-to-lets and refurbishments. And again, this was in a time where the only property show that I knew was Sarah Beanie's Property Ladder. I had a little book, which was my Bible, and Homes Under the Hammer, because they're such long running shows. That was the only inspiration that I had. I didn't have anybody else around me that was entrepreneurial, that was money minded, that was astute. I didn't even know anybody else that owned their house. Definitely not within my friendship circles. Like, they were still living at home and doing all the things. So, and I was working 3 jobs, working till like 10 o'clock at night, and then going out at 10, with my friends, trying to get some semblance of teenage years, and then back to work at 7 in the morning. So I really struggled and hustled, but again, never dealt with the real issue, which was not feeling worthy. So then even when I climbed the corporate ladder, I ended up then having to leave my corporate job. Never really got to my full earning potential within that job anyway, because I didn't ever want to ask for too much, even though I was a single parent with 3 kids and I needed the money. I then essentially became a business owner, and again sabotaged my success for the first few years, where I basically spent my money like I stole it. I attracted very disempowering relationships, very disempowering one-sided friendships, and just never really dealt with my issues around money. So this is why I'm now a money coach for women and a business coach for women, because I know that, and for people that are good people, because I know there's so much more than just learning a sales strategy and showing up online. There is so much more to it that is more complex than you will ever know. But when you do that work, that's when you truly become an empowered person that can live life on their own terms. That's when you truly become fulfilled and happy in all areas of your life, because you're not compromising or settling anymore. So for me, the first thing that I would say when it comes to setting my kids up for financial empowerment is dealing with my shizzle around money and self-worth, so that it doesn't become theirs. So they will obviously never have to experience the hardships that I did, but they will still have their own issues. So me healing and them seeing me go through that process, and meditating and talking about energy and boundaries and journaling and reading, is what they will then observe and pick up as normal. They won't think it's funny, the fact that I listed personal development books in the cars, and that they know that I help other good people make good money online. Like, none of them really have aspirations to go and get a 9-to-5 job. They all can self-regulate their emotions. They tell me when they need space. We have lots of conversations about how we're feeling and how did that make us feel, and all the things. So for me, that is the first step in creating a better future for your kids, is ensuring that your shizzle doesn't become their shizzle. So that's number 1. Then they asked me to dive in a little bit around how I am. Oh, and also I want to say conversations around money as well. Sorry, I just wanted to bring that up as well. So when we talk about, this is the thing, like, we're not super privileged. It's a hard slog when you have, I live in London, I've got 6 kids. My time is somewhat limited in terms of what I can do around traveling and working and all of those things, quite rightly so, because I want to be with the kids. So, but, we are doing well, and, I have more success than most. So I know that, and I'm truly grateful for that. So it doesn't mean that my kids get everything though. And I think that actually accumulating lots of stuff is very overwhelming. 2 of my kids have ADHD like I do. So actually we're just very intentional. That's what we do. We talk about money in an intentional way. So it's not about not being able to afford something, can't have everything, money doesn't grow on trees. It's about, do you really think that that's a good use of value? Like, do you think that that's a good deal? Do you think that that is a good exchange of value? Is that going to bring you joy? Do you really love it? Do you really want it? And we have those kind of conversations, not about can we afford it, but does it make sense? Is it a good exchange of value? So I want to kind of point that out. Then in terms of how I'm helping them to become financially literate and make money, the three things that I am doing. So I've got two girls that I'm homeschooling. They are both very motivated to make their own money and be independent. Obviously they do get a pocket money from me, but it's all around, they have to manage it, they have to budget it, they have to save some of it, and they also invest some of their money too. So I wanted to bring that up. One of the apps that I use is the Plum app. So what I love about this, I do have other apps that I use for stocks and investments, is that they each have a weekly allocation that goes to their own individual stocks using the Plum app. Obviously it's in my name, but they have had the option to choose, or the opportunity to choose, what money that goes into, what stocks and companies that money goes into. So like one of my son invests in Tesla. We've got Netflix, Disney. My other daughter is like tech minded, so they all have say over where the money goes. And I think that that's really important, because then it teaches them that even if it's only £2 a week, they have power in where they spend their money. So that to me is really important. So because there's so much power as a consumer that you don't even realize that you have. One of my daughters is vegetarian, or she was vegetarian for a time. She's kind of leaning out of it now. She's a teenager. And we would purposely go and buy vegetarian foods at the supermarket, not because necessarily I believe in that, because some of those foods are actually very processed, but I was saying to her, we need to demonstrate that there is a market for vegetarian food, so that more and more people will make and create better and better alternatives to meat. If no one buys it, there's no market. They're not going to do the research, and things will never change. You as a consumer have power with where you spend your money. And if you feel truly aligned at that point that you don't want to eat meat, then rather than just not buying meat, we need to buy the alternative to, like I say, demonstrate that there's a market there, so that more and more progress will be made in that sector. And it's the same with their stocks and shares. Even if it's £1, £2 a week, you investing in those companies will support their growth. And that's how you contribute at a small level to the wider power in the world. So that's what they do. I'll pop the link below for the Plum app if you want to implement that either for yourself or for your kids, because I think it's really powerful. They often ask me to go on and look at their stocks because it's app based, it's very familiar to them. They like, oh look, Disney is up, or Tesla's down, and they love to hear things on the news and be like, oh mum, how has that affected my stocks? Let's have a look. And I log on to the app, and I love that, because I would never have had those conversations at all in a million years as a child. Therefore, it felt very overwhelming. I felt like, because we were always like the poor family, I always felt on the other side of people that were wealthy. And the reality was, I think the only divide is, first of all, wealthy people don't have to, because they don't have to. They're not worried about their survival. They don't have to think about money as much as we do. Being broke is really bloody hard work. Finding all the savings, finding all the deals, as much as I love to do that and share that, I've always been that savvy person anyway. But having to rob Peter to pay Paul and move money from here to there, it's exhausting. So actually it's a lot easier to be wealthy. And the only difference between us and wealthy people were just that they were informed and they made things easy. So the more that I can make things easy and normalize, like going on nice holidays and having a stocks and shares portfolio, so it doesn't feel like, oh, check her out, who is she, with the kids, the more that I normalize that for them, and the more that they will feel comfortable and safe around being that person when they're older. So that's the first thing, is that I help them to grow investments. They also have premium bonds and ISAs, that obviously junior ISAs that obviously I pay into, that will hopefully at some point give them a start when they're older. But the other two things that I'm doing, I've got one daughter, again, they're 14 and 12. So there actually isn't much they can do. They can't go out and work jobs. It's not like the days where, when I was 14, I was working a paper round, I was doing a little cleaning job alongside my mum's cleaning job. Those days are gone. And equally, I don't want to force them into that survival state where they have to earn money. But what I do encourage them to do is to find their thing. So my oldest daughter is a complete introvert. She is not even on social media. That's why one of the reasons why I homeschool her. But she is an incredible artist. Her skills are next level. I have often tried to encourage her to grow her to sell her designs on Etsy, but for now she's I just don't want to put that pressure on it. I want to do it because I enjoy it. I don't want to have to like mass produce my art. I just want to have a moment with it. And I'm like, I totally celebrate that. So one of the ways that I'm kind of like moving her a little bit more towards monetizing her gifts is, with her permission, when she's ready, I will set up an Etsy store. I will allow people to purchase like some of her designs because they are incredible, and I will kind of help with that, because that's what I do day in, day out. I help women set up online businesses. Why would I not do that for my child? But there's no pressure for her to earn from it. It's just, it makes sense because she's so good at it. So that's one thing. Another thing is, I have just recently set up so I'm an author. I have an Amazon store. My book is already on there. I'll pop the link on there. It's The Good Girl's Guide to Money Making, because we all want to be good girls, right? So, and it's a best-selling book. So I've already got that on there. I've got a couple of other workbooks that I've repurposed. And it just occurred to me, like, I need to get the low-content journals on there too, because why would I not? Like, I'm already making truly passive income from Amazon. I used to have an Amazon store back in the day. So if I'm doing that, and it literally requires no social media account, no need to have my face on it, then this is something that I'm now supporting my youngest daughter to do. So she is going to take over, and it's completely free. All you need is a free Canva account, a ChatGPT account completely free, and an Amazon KDP account completely free. If you want me to do a tutorial on how quickly I set one up yesterday, whilst breastfeeding my 3-month-old baby, I literally did it whilst balanced on my laptop on my lap. And hopefully that will then go on and make me a reoccurring income that is completely passive. If I can do that and it doesn't require social media or any of those things, I'm going to teach my 12-year-old how to do the same, because she is so motivated to make money. She wants to dog walk. She doesn't understand that people, she needs insurances and all of these things. She doesn't understand all of that. She wants to babysit other people's kids. She doesn't understand that she's only 12 and she can't do that. She's so motivated to make money. So this is a great way of me supporting her to do that without the dangers of being online, because equally it's understanding marketing and design and creation. And then I will pull my older daughter into that with some of her designs when she is ready, because again, that would be an obvious income generator for her. And then the other thing we do is Vinted. So I have set up a Vinted account. My youngest daughter is able to put up all of her clothes, accessories, anything that she doesn't want, and that goes to her. So she is responsible for listing, taking the pictures, packaging it up. I'll walk with her obviously to go and post them, but that is entirely her responsibility. If she wants the money, she has to do the thing. And then obviously when that money gets paid, it goes to her GoHenry account. So that's another thing that we use, is a GoHenry account. It's got a high interest saving account attached to it. They all have to, they don't have to, but they are all encouraged to save some of their money. They also get cash back on their purchases. So even if they are just buying sweets and being kids, they're getting cash back on that as well, because again, I want them to know that there's always, you can make money without having to do more. So those are the main four kind of ways that I'm helping them to, or the main ways that I'm helping them to become more empowered with their money and financially literate through the Plum app. That's also a way that they can earn money, because they'll get like money earned on their stocks and shares. Then the other apps that I use. So I'm going to list them all in this video. I hope that this has helped. Please tag or share with another mum that you think could really get value from this video, because I would love to grow this channel. I'd love to have this as another income stream so that it's sustainable and I can share more and more tips, because I've always been that savvy person, like I say, since I was like 16, using top cashback sites and before it was even a thing. So thank you so much again for supporting my channel, for sharing. Let me know if there's any suggestions that you have or ways that you're supporting your kids to become financially empowered, and just thank you so much for being part of this journey.